Coming up on Kochie's Business Builders, we tackle the tricky issue of mental health at work, catch up with the family behind Harris Farm Markets, and get Carolyn Creswell's top business tips. Mental health is a really important but often overlooked issue for small business owners. Whether it's staff, families or business owners themselves, being informed is essential. We'll get the expert word on that later in the show. Then we're off to Harris Farm Markets to find out how they've stayed business fit for more than 40 years and also catch up with Carmen's founder, Carolyn Creswell. But first, news you can use. The latest census report shows a massive 69% of Australians are now on social media. That's a big audience for your business. But which platform is the best bet? Well, Facebook continues to dominate the scene, with 95% of social media users on the big blue giant. LinkedIn is the next most popular, with 24% of the social population. Then it's Instagram with 21%, and Twitter and Google Plus with 19% of users. In terms of content, research shows people are most interested in discounts from businesses, then giveaways, then product information, and then finally tips and advice. Ronald Young Builders & Co is a growing business with a team of 15 full-time staff and 80 contractors. A recent finalist in the Tasmanian Business Awards, directors Paul and Lisa Burnell are passionate about their staff's health, safety and well-being. To make sure they're getting mental health right too, Beyondblue Chief Executive Georgie Harmon dropped by to share her advice.
So tell us a little bit about Ronald Young & Co Builders.
Ronald Young & Co Builders have been operating in Tasmania now for 40 years. Lisa and I have had the business for the last 4 years and we build approximately 50 homes a year for families in southern Tasmania.
And I understand you've won an Employer of Choice award recently.
Yes, in 2014 we were highly commended for our commitment to health and wellbeing in the workplace, and it has set us apart in the industry.
What made you think about mental health at work and what are you doing?
We realise that we have a responsibility to our workers, our staff, our on-site workers, and it's something that we're very passionate about. We believe that if our workers are safe and if they're healthy, they're going to enjoy their work, they're going to be more productive, they're going to go home in a far better mood, and we believe everyone's a winner out of that.
Yeah.
The return on investment is huge. I think, as Paul mentioned, we do have a responsibility for the health and safety of our team, but extending into mental health awareness in the workplace is another component of our health program.
So tell me a little bit about the specific things that you've done to build a mentally healthy workplace in your company.
Part of our action plan was developing awareness around common mental health issues such as depression and anxiety, and we signed up with the Heads Up campaign.
Have you had any specific sort of tricky situations where one of your workers has come to you with a particular problem, a mental health issue, and how have you coped with that?
Yes, we had one worker in particular who word got back through our site supervisor that he wasn't well. So Lisa and I both went out to see this particular worker. We altered his duties and his hours and made things a little bit easier for him. He has now recovered. We put him in touch with the resources that are available, and he's now back to full-time duties and back to his old self and really producing good work.
Are you looking after yourselves?
Yes, I think as a business owner you definitely have stress in your life, and it's about finding things to promote work-life balance. We definitely try to promote that with our staff. We don't encourage them to work at all on the weekends, and we're very aware of flexibility in the workplace and job roles and workloads.
What are the things that you see every day in terms of the work you're doing in the mental health space?
We certainly have a workforce that has very few sick days. The productivity has increased.
So you're saying this is actually a really good investment?
This is part of our business plan now. It's just as important as any other part of it, and we recognise that now, and that we need a healthy workforce that is productive and enjoying their work, therefore producing better results.
After the break, Georgie's tips for addressing mental health at work. This tip is brought to you by Renault, driving small business.
Replacing or purchasing for the first time a new commercial vehicle represents a substantial investment. Certainty that your new vehicle meets your operational requirements and adds value with as little financial impact as possible allows you to focus on other important aspects of your business. The area of light commercial vehicles is one that often has very specific requirements. It is extremely important that the union of the vehicle and its fit out is fit for purpose. In many regards, the vehicle itself is a blank canvas, which you can create an operational masterpiece upon. Internal racking, refrigeration, food prep, specialised technical equipment or the multitude of other fit-out variations requires the support of experts. Experts who can source, cost, install and ensure the complete compliance within your budget. Try to avoid the headaches associated with creating your own commercial vehicle fit-out by leaving it to the experts.
To find out more, visit your local Renault dealer or go to renault.com.au/business. Now let's hear from Beyondblue Chief Executive Georgie Harmon's advice for tackling the tricky area of mental health.
Another really tangible and practical thing that you can do as a business owner is get people out of the workplace and socialising and having some fun. And we all know that physical health is really good for your mental health as well.
We've partnered with other businesses in the Hobart area, and we go for a light run through the bush of Hobart, halfway up Mount Wellington. It's certainly nice to get out of the office, off the chair, and get moving.
One of the things you might want to think about doing is contacting Beyondblue and asking us to send out one of our fantastic speakers. So these are people who've gone through depression and anxiety themselves and go into workplaces and schools and other places and actually talk about their personal experience and actually show people that it's okay to talk about it, that recovery is really possible, and that that goes a great way to break down some of the stigmas. When you join Heads Up, you actually register, and there's an ongoing relationship that's then developed between Heads Up and your business. There's a section that's about looking after your own mental health in the workplace and looking out for others. Then there's a section that's about rights and responsibilities of both employers and employees. The final section's really about resources and information, all of which are free, very evidence-based. One of the things that I still find really surprising is that there's still a sense that mental illness affects other people, when we know that 1 in 5 Australian workers right now is experiencing some kind of mental health problem.
It's up to business owners to take that on board and show a leadership role, as Lisa was saying before, and become involved themselves. It's not them, it's all of us. It's a whole approach.
So you would recommend to any small business owner, whether they're a single trader, working by themselves at home in the garage, trying to manage the kids as well, or a small business owner like yourselves, to actually get on board with Heads Up, sign up, get educated, get information out there, talk about it and connect with your teams.
It's as important as visiting your accountant, your lawyer or your business coach. It's just a part of it now, and it really does benefit you in the long run.
Oh, look, you guys are doing a fantastic job. It's a real credit to you and your business, how you're approaching this stuff, and I'd just like to congratulate you doing a brilliant job.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Georgie.
Great tips there from Georgie. If you haven't addressed mental health at your business, be sure to drop by headsup.org.au for more great tips. And don't forget, you can re-watch this and other segments at kbbtv.com.au. Now it's time for Lessons from Legends with Muesli Maestro, Carolyn Creswell.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Creswell from Carmen's, and for anyone out there that's thinking about starting their own business, I
think my first piece of advice would be to really think if this is for you. You know, having a small business isn't easy, and sometimes people think they can give up their job on a Friday and start their business on a Monday and they'll be able to earn the same salary that they're used to. It's a lot harder than that. So I'd say try and do it at night and on weekends to really make sure that the idea is spot on. And then once you get into it, work out what are the big things that you need to do to make that business progress forward. Write yourself lists, keep yourself organised, and keep working on the things that will take your business to the next level. And then finally, just trust your instinct. Sometimes you have to drive it like you stole it and just say to yourself, do you know what, I'm just going to dive in and give this my very best chance. All the best, thanks.
Up next, honest family business tips from the founders of Harris Farm Markets. This business tip brought to you by NAB, helping Australian business see more, not less.
Michael, let's say I own a cleaning company whose employees require a car for work. Is there a better option than buying using my business capital?
Well, Kochie, you might want to consider a novated lease.
Okay, how does that work?
A novated lease involves a three-way agreement where the employee leases the car directly from NAB rather than the business doing so. The employer deducts lease rentals from the employee's salary and pays the rentals to the NAB.
Okay, so what are the benefits?
Well, this eliminates the costs associated with buying and maintaining a company car whilst having no liability recorded on the balance sheet. Plus, the responsibility of the car rests with the driver. So if they leave, you're not left with an unwanted car.
All right, on the other side of the coin, are there benefits for employees?
Well, employees are able to choose a vehicle from a range of options, and there's a variety of lease terms. Plus, there's potential tax advantages too.
Okay, so both employees and employers benefit together. Gotta love that. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Kochie.
For more tips and stories, visit nab.com.au/moreforbusiness. David and Kathy Harris opened their first grocery store in 1972 and by the late 80s had almost 40 stores. However, they went into receivership after a partner went bankrupt and had to rebuild the business from scratch. Today, they're stronger than ever. We caught up with father and son, David and Angus, to get the inside word on their success.
You've got a great business ethos, support others that support you. How's that reflected in the operations here?
I think a great example is the Imperfect Pigs campaign, which is about helping Aussie farmers, helping families put food on the table cheaper, and just helping the environment as well.
I am staggered at the success of it. 2 weeks ago we sold 13 tonnes of imperfect eggplant in 1 week. I mean, 13 tonnes is, in our industry, an unbelievable amount.
David, you learned the perils of growing too fast when you had a significant investor go broke. How close to the edge did Harris Farm go?
I lost the name, the business, homes, farms, the whole lot, and had to rebuild from a very small base.
What processes did you change in the business from prior to that, growing the new one?
We were far more disciplined in our cash flow. So previously I would open a store to get some cash flow to open another store to get some cash flow to open another store, and profit was really irrelevant. It's now extremely relevant, and it was extremely relevant from the 90s onwards when we rebuilt the business.
Now, Angus, you champion seasonal produce from local farmers. What does the buying process look like?
The buying process is a lot more fragmented than our major competitors. We try and target individual lines for individual stores.
We don't have the tight specifications that the supermarkets have. They want every orange to be that size, every mango to be that size. And so we take advantage of their restrictions to assist our buying.
Now, David, you've been in the business for about 40 years now. How are you handling that succession planning and passing the business on to your sons?
Oh, it's always a bit mixed. You're always sort of a bit guarded in accepting some of the new ideas, and I'm certainly no different to that. I'm probably as old school as anybody in the industry, and found sometimes some of the decisions very difficult. And you know what, about half the time they're right, and about half the time some of the things I wanted to do were right, and we seem to have struck a very successful balance.
Angus, you're on the board. Your mum's the chairperson, formidable businessman in David and your two brothers as well. How do you handle that family dynamic in the business?
We try and lift it beyond the family dynamic, so try and focus on the big things that the board needs to concentrate on and avoid the small operational day-to-day issues. We have enough time talking about those at the dinner table. I think the board is probably the area where we perform our best.
What's the best bit of business advice that you've been given along the journey?
I remember an old guy in the markets years ago saying, if you wouldn't take it home, don't expect one of your customers to. I think that probably is as good as it gets.
Terrific family business story and something we can all really get behind. Thanks a lot for your time, guys.
Thank you, Alex.
I really like David's advice there, which goes for any other business as well. If you wouldn't take it home, don't expect your customers to. Coming up, Val Quinn's back with another tech tip, and I take a question from the crowd in Ask Kochie. This segment is brought to you by Renault, driving small business. Justin, what's the history of Renault here in Australia?
Renault's history in Australia is not that well known, but it's a very long and rich one. From taxis and trucks pre-World War I in the early 1900s, to being Wheels' first car of the year,
Wow.
to also having its own manufacturing through the 60s, 70s and early 80s in Heidelberg, Melbourne.
That's a great history. Now, tell me though the challenges you face bringing a European brand into the Australian market.
Yeah, it's a very tough market. What probably a lot of people don't understand about the Australian automotive landscape is that it's one of the most competitive markets in the world. It's almost entirely imported product. A very small percentage of it is locally made, and that's decreasing as we know it. And therefore, there's more than 60 brands competing.
What are the key pillars that you build the Renault brand on to differentiate yourself?
Okay, so there's really been three things that we've focused on building up around the brand. One is our rich heritage, a brand that's been around for over 100 years. Secondly is our rich motorsport history. One of the most successful brands in Formula One in particular, and still powering Australian drivers like Daniel Ricciardo. And then also around our engineering excellence, which is probably little known, but one of the brands to first introduce a transmission, the first supercharger, and many other innovations over the years.
You've had terrific growth over the last couple of years. What strategies did you adopt to build that growth?
We developed in early 2012 what we call our strategy map, a very clear vision of where we would like to go, and then some very pragmatic objectives that cascade right through the organisation. We've then also, from a product point of view, make sure that our positioning, our specification against our strategic competitors is right on the money and is well supported by programs like cap price servicing, a strong warranty, and our financial services product.
And on top of that, the competition just got fiercer as well. How do you fight that off?
Yeah, there is this constant challenge of this highly competitive market. So early on, we developed this plan to get all of the stakeholders in our business, our own organisation, our dealer network, our agencies and the like, all on board on one journey. You're a challenger brand, very competitive market. You're up against some big boys, not unlike a lot of other small businesses in Australia. What do you reckon small business can learn from what you've experienced at Renault? I think having a very clear strategy is absolutely key. You know, when we started off 4 years ago in growing the brand, it was 20 people in our head office. We could be considered a small business. So having everybody aligned behind our strategy, understanding how that was going to play out over the years was critically important. Great story. Justin, thanks for sharing it. My pleasure. To find out more, visit your local Renault dealer or go to renault.com.au/business. It's Tech Tip time with Val Quinn.
Good, accurate accounting is essential to the success of your business. Cloud accounting software like Xero is helping small businesses everywhere. You can check balances, upload receipts, invoice customers while you're at lunch, or run your business and access your accounts from work or at home. Now, Xero's mobile app is ideal for monitoring your real-time cash flow and keeping track of transactions when you're on the move. And the best part is that you can get paid faster by connecting seamlessly with customers through online invoicing systems and receive updates when an invoice is opened. So when it comes down to it, cloud-based accounting systems really are the way of the future. They're scalable, quick, easy to use, and you can share your information with your accountant without being at the same place at the same time.
Time for another Ask Kochie, and today's question was submitted on our website by Rose. Now, Rose asks, my husband and I have had a cafe for 10 years, but we're ready to sell. Where do we start? Well, selling a business is a major decision, so it's crucial to understand why, when and what you're selling. Of course, the best time to sell is when sales and profits are increasing. So ensure creditors, debt and debtors are in order, cash flow is running smoothly, and that you have a strong team and processes in place. Any buyer will want to review all these things. The business will need to be valued, and this includes goodwill and future earnings capacity. So speak to your accountant and a broker or a valuer as well. When it comes to listing, there are various online marketplaces and also business brokers that can help shop it around for a fixed or percentage fee. Well, that's it for this week. Don't forget, there's still a lot to get involved in our massive website rescue competition with thousands in prizes up for grabs. So head to kbbtv.com.au before it's too late. See you next time. Next week on KBB, we look at getting a new product to market with Scrubber, get Jerry Harvey's top business tips, and find out how the Wiggles took over the world. But before that, jump onto kbbtv.com.au to keep up to date.